Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today is Wednesday, October 28th, 2020, and this is a very early morning live stream. It's about 12:48 a.m. where I am. So it may be a little earlier, it may be a little later where you are, but either way, welcome. Not sure if this is broadcasting to YouTube because I can't get it to pull up in my YouTube studio. So I don't know if this is going out to you guys, because it's not even showing up in mine, which is just bizarre. But it looks like people are here. So welcome. Hopefully this will load to YouTube, but it may not. We'll see. So I don't know what size crowd we'll have, but that's okay. I figured I would go ahead and do this. Couple reasons. One, I'm wide awake. I just got through watching the Vosh Tim Pool debate and witnessing a narcissistic meltdown, and it was just absolutely phenomenal. And it's kind of stimulated my mind, much in the same way this comment stimulated my mind when I saw it. So I figured it's late. My mind is spinning and whirling. I'm wide awake. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this live stream. If you are on my email list, I'm not going to send an email only because it's so late. And that's just making the assumption that a lot of my viewers are on the East Coast. But I don't know. You guys let me know. If you're on the email list and you wouldn't care if it was 3 a.m. getting an email from me, I just don't want to wake anybody up because a lot of people keep their, notifications on their phone. So I just don't want to wake anybody up. So sorry, you guys, but I'll send it tomorrow so you can watch the playback if there is one, as I still don't see it on YouTube. Let me see. Double check. Nothing. Wow, that's so weird. I've never seen it do this before. So normally, before I even go live, it will let me kind of tweak the video. Like I can do different settings and things, change the thumbnail. It's not even here. So I can't even tweak it because it's not here. So anyway, I don't know if this is actually going to happen, but let's jump into it. Welcome, everyone. So here's the background on tonight's live stream. I just did a video called Narcissists Miss the Added Layers. Check it out if you haven't seen it yet. And it's one of those videos. Every video is not like this, but sometimes I'll make a video and I am thinking about it like days and hours after I post it. And it makes me laugh because it's like, girl, that came out of your head. Why are you so moved by it? Like it lives in your head. But it's just like the more I think about the layers and the different levels of understanding, like it just takes me to thinking about so many different things that have happened. So the reason behind so many different interactions. For example, I'll give you a perfect example. And this is all just context setting up to this stream. But I said, PTE, I think part of the reason you struggle on the job is because you typically dwell, and you'd have to see the video to know what I'm talking about. But I typically dwell somewhere up around reasons 7 and 8. So I've worked through reasons 4, 5, 6, and 7, and now I'm up in the upper layers. But the people I'm working with typically dwell in layers 1 and 2. And I spend the majority of my time trying to move them from the first and second layer to layers 3, 4, 5, and 6, and so on. Does that make sense? And it really helped me understand that this is part of the problem that I've been experiencing. You're trying to move people from the lower layers to the upper layers, and you can't do it. And I feel like this comment explains why I can't do it and why some of you may not be able to do it either. Now, I recognize this is a lot of words on the page, okay? I would not present anything to you that I did not think was high quality, top notch, and profound. And this comment is all of those things. So what I have done is I have broken it up here. Let me click. We're going to go through it like this. Okay. So as I'm reading, I'll be moving the little box so you can see where I am. Okay. So you won't get too lost in the sauce. Okay. Because I recognize this is visually very, distorting, disturbing. I don't know. So you don't worry about that too much. I am going to move through, with the little box around it. Also, some of you may be wondering why I'm not displaying the name or the picture, because I asked for permission and they never got back to me. So I hope they forgive me for this. I hope they're okay with this, but I figured they would be. Um, and I figured the best way for me to handle it is just to take their name off. However, if the person who made this comment wants credit for it when you see this video, please let me know either in the comments, email me, and I am more than happy to give credit where credit is due. Okay. I did ask for your permission. I didn't hear back from you. So that's why I don't have your name displayed. But I'm more than happy to give attribution once I hear from you. So with that, why don't we go ahead and move through this? I'm going to do a clean read first because I have prepared some notes for myself as we move through this. And I just want you guys to hear it first, the way that I heard it, and then we'll go through and break it down, okay? Excuse me, so let me clear my throat, get a little water. Welcome, everybody. All right, here we go. This is in response to the Narcissist Myths, the Added Layers video. Intention is an illusion. In the eye of the beholder, general projection. The narcissist does not have a concept of functional language. There is no logic that keeps things, the phenomena, in place. To the narcissist, everything is therefore an opinion. From this perspective, you are just talking. It's just words. The narcissist sees manipulative intention in your straight facts and argumentation. It doesn't land in a constructive way or synthesize. In this interaction, the narcissist will even see your numbers and statistics as your opinion. And because you say it, it will be cast aside. If you decide to take a different angle to explain it, then that is your next manipulation. To more normal people, language is a formula or a calculation of some sort. It has to work. We assign the value of a contract to it. There is a holistic idea of there is an holistic idea of implications. If I say something, you may assume it is so, or I believe it to be true. Otherwise, it's a lie. The narcissist is a button pusher. Imagine a very big keyboard with many words on the keys and also parts of sentences. Every word is equal, on the same plane. Every word can potentially be said. A button is pushed. Motivation for composing language is different. To normal people, language is a formula, a transaction. Transaction is something different in the narcissist's mind. A stagnated dialectic model is the mechanism. In interaction, there is synthesis, antithesis, followed by synthesis. Throw synthesis in the bin. There is only a game of poles and polarization. This is the pattern behind attributing qualities to the other and the self. No agency is attributed to you, the other. The narcissist does not reason. The narcissist contrasts polarization, black and white. This is the weight of the argument in this condition. You are immediately parked outside of the spectrum of reason. The narcissist will pump him or herself up and hammer you into the ground. This is when you react bad to their construction of language, button pushing, which always serves the self, following the logic described above. No synthesis equals self-serving. The lack of synthesis goes deep. Narcissists can appear intelligent. They can absorb information, but reality check is always iffy. In this sense, the behavior is autistiform. The narcissist has a collection, words, that has drifted away from functional reality. It serves a different purpose: control in a chaotic world. The world is hostile when one can't process it and synthesize. I observe that knowledge of the narcissist is an educated guess which is formulated vaguely, so it cannot be pinned down. Stereotypes and cliches actually shallow. This knowledge is not tested in the moment and was never tested. The narcissist does not develop deeper insight. Because of the deficiency, memory is often better developed, trained. The narcissist scans and gathers information. When situations are complex, unexpected, or invisible, like a corona, then the narcissist fails. Buttons are being pushed frantically, up to a level of word salad and downright delusional and psychotic rambling. Fragmented language where even sentence construction starts to fail, formed on the frame of polarization. The narcissist indeed misses layers. It is in language construction, internal, and in synthesis in interaction. It is the contrasting and the button pushing that is interpreted as intentional. Keep this in mind. A dumb person will recognize the end of his own capacities. The narcissist will keep talking and talking. There is always a legitimization and way forward, a button to push. I've derailed several of them into stuttering and wide-eyed rage. There is a breaking point by forcing them to shoot themselves in the foot, for example, but it has to have hard feedback, a price to pay. In language, the narcissist doesn't see the contradiction he's forced into. That's multi-layeredness. And autistic modeling fits the narcissist, I think, a rendering of an overlapping central problem. Some people become aggressive when drunk, others funny, and I fall asleep. Different ways of being under a certain influence. Narcissism does not exist. Okay, sidebar. This is his opinion, his or her opinion, but I'm just reading it because this is the whole comment, okay? Narcissism does not exist. Narcissistic traits are the result of distance to an other. Things have not been synthesized because the other lives at the other side of the world. When the aliens land, then we will be narcissistic. Certainly when they are wise, listen, stupid monkey, life is not a problem. We will hate them. Smug platypus. Identify with Donald Duck all you want, mofos. But the narcissist can't synthesize at all and is therefore far removed from reality, locked into a polarized position, contrasting with the outside world. Narcissism does not exist as a disease, but the narcissist is extremely narcissistic because the set of behaviors emerging from distance to a subject is chronic and total. It's crazy and not evil, though by experience and decent online cognitive faculties, narcissists can have an understanding in which the relations are gamified, and sadism is the feedback mechanism. I don't think narcissists have capacities to understand human feedback. The other just reacts in ways, also an autistic notion. The narcissist has no notion of caring in a synergetic way, win-win. They have only a thin notion of you as a human being. You have an opinion. You have an opinion. The narcissist has an opinion. The narcissist wins because you lose. There are no constraints in spraying words to create this contrast. When it comes to the field of language construction, the narcissist is divorced from reality. Anything goes, though it's shaped by context. It's psychotic in the form of the context, seeking its extremes. Schizophrenics escalate into la-la land. The narcissist slaloms with reality, seeks to approach it, imitates it. Don't expect layers. It's a collection of cliches, platitudes, stereotypes, and educated guesses that go one way. They go up and you go down. This is the pattern. Some see it as sports. Okay. So there were parts of that that were very, very funny to me, which is why I told you guys a couple streams ago that when I was younger, I wanted to be a news anchor, but I would not be able to keep a straight face. Although I think that would be the show. Like the more I think about it, what would be funnier than an anchor attempting to read the news and like she's trying hard and like the whole audience knows that she's trying her best not to laugh, especially with certain like segments or funny things that happen. The audience knows, so they come to learn to read her face and they start laughing, and even when they think she's not or about to or whatever. I think that would be the show. You're delivering real news, factual news, but you have an anchor who's doing her best to do the old school anchor, sit up straight, head slightly tilted delivery. But her sense of humor is so strong that she can't override the words coming out of her mouth. I just think that would be funny. A girl can dream, right? Let's break this down a little bit. Shout out to the viewer who left this comment. Thank you. If you want me to give you credit, please let me know. Now, if this is all new to you, you might be saying, oh, wow, why is she talking about autistic people like that? Or why is this person in the comment talking about them like that? You would have to watch the other video for all of this to make sense. It's a quick video, 6 or 7 minutes. Go watch it and come back, okay? For the whole comment to even have context. But let's break it down. So I've highlighted for you the parts of the comment that I actually wanted to break down. So this part here, the narcissist does not have a concept of functional language. What have I told you before? Words don't work. And I felt like their explanation of why words don't work was kind of brilliant. So then it moves on to say, oh wait, did I move the highlight? Let's see. Nope. Let's go back. Boom. Oh, it says, to the narcissist, everything is therefore an opinion. From this perspective, you are just talking. It's just words. Like, I thought that was so profound because essentially it explains everything. It's like they have a really tough time or reject the idea that these words are being put together this particular way for a reason. Like they're not just words, like words carry meaning to them and they carry weight. But to a narcissist, they're just words. They're just objects, kind of like Legos or, you know what I mean? Building blocks. Like, okay, she just scattered a bunch of building blocks all over the place. So what? What do you want me to do now? You know what I mean? Not understanding that those building blocks each have a word on them. And if you put them in a certain order, they spell something called, or they make something called a sentence that brings forth a message, right? But to them, they're just words. Now, I thought their reasoning for this went a little bit further, and I thought this was good. It said, if you decide to take a different angle to explain it, then that is your next manipulation. So when we were talking about the layers, you have to go watch the video for it to make sense. Narcissists dwell somewhere around layer 1 or layer 2. So when you're trying to move them to layer 3, you might say, they don't seem to get what I just said to them. So let me give them an analogy. So then you provide the narcissist with an analogy. But while you're sitting there thinking, wow, that was a really great explanation, I think you nailed it, the narcissist in their mind is going, oh, she's just trying to manipulate me now. Now she's just trying to play with my brain and manipulate me. Which might be why learning and knowledge and education, why they're so resistant to it, because they're interpreting it as some kind of manipulation. You're trying to put something in me, and I don't know if I want it there, so I reject it. It's like, I'm just trying to show you how to do this thing that you'll need to know how to do your job. Yeah. You just want to get all in my head. No, I'm just trying to show you how to use the software so you can log in and, perform the job they hired you for. Yeah. Okay. Whatever, lady. You're probably an agent. It's like, okay. So I thought that was pretty interesting and very powerful, that your attempts to be understood are interpreted as manipulations. which is why they become even more weird and defensive and like odd, like doing these odd dodges and these odd ducks. They just get very weird because they think you're trying to manipulate them when really all you're trying to do is explain something. Is that not fascinating? I think that's fascinating. So let's move on. So it says to more normal people, language is a formula or a calculation of some sort. It has to work. And I say this all the time. I say, to me, language is code. It's code. And you would be really hard pressed to debate me and convince me otherwise. Language is code. And the more accurate the code, the more accurate the end result, correct? Or you would hope. And I think that's the point of this comment. We think that the more accurate the code we're sending is, the better results the better results we'll have. Because in our mind, I'm sending this with the idea that it has to work. Like this has to work. It's almost like, it's not a very good example because you can miss, but imagine, when you ball up a piece of paper and you throw it at the trash can, like pretending to be a basketball player. Like it has to work like that. Like, oh, you have to make it in. You have to go in there. You see what I mean? Like it has to work. And that's how most quote unquote normal people interpret the use of language. Okay. And then it goes on to say, we assign the value of a contract to it. And I thought that was powerful. It's like, I have a message for you. I'm going to send it to you. And the contract is you'll receive the message, process it, analyze it, and then hopefully send me a response. Like that is the completed contract. And that goes on until all messages have been transmitted. Not with your narc though. Y'all know that. Let's see. Let's move on. So the next one, the visual for this is hysterical to me. So the narcissist is a button pusher. Imagine a very big keyboard with many words on the keys and also parts of sentences. Every word is equal on the same plane. Every word can potentially be said, representing a button pushed. Motivation for composing language is different. So, where did I put my note? Oh, I said, this is why words carry no meaning and no weight with narcissists, and actions are generally the only thing that they respond to. And even then, they only respond in a limited sense. But actions are generally better than words with narcs, because to them, like words are just like something you put together for entertainment and amusement. It's something to rattle your diaphragm. You know what I mean? It's like a gentle hum, kind of like if you put a baby in a car to try to get them to go to sleep, like you go for a drive. They say the hum of the car makes the baby go to sleep. Words to a narc are just like a hum to a baby. You see what I mean? And I think it's coming up, but I'm going to jump the gun, okay? Because it makes me think of the same thing. This is why narcissists largely can listen to people who ramble. Because it blows my mind how many people on YouTube actually ramble. It's stunning to me. And what blows my mind are the size of their audiences. And I'm not jealous because my audience is a concentrated group of highly intelligent people, which I appreciate. Because I would wonder about you and worry about you guys if I did just sit up here and ramble for 3 hours incoherently. And y'all are like, yeah, wow, that's amazing. You know what I mean? So it's just shocking to me that people can tolerate it. I think that's what makes me notice it at all. Like, wow, they can really tolerate all this rambling, man. Like, I'm the girl who will go to church, but after the sermon is over, honey, we got to get out of here. It's time to go. I'm the one slipping out the back door past the ushers because we got to get out of here. You're rambling. I got to go. But some people love it. And I think this is why, because words don't really mean anything to them. It's nothing. It's the gentle hum of a car. You know what I mean? The gentle hum of a car, rocking them to sleep. And it's just comfort. is what I'm trying to say basically. Words are like a comfort to them. Okay. So that's what I wanted to say. So I jumped the gun a little bit because that comes up a little bit later also. But um actions are one of the biggest takeaways for that for me also, because understands words carry no weight. So here, this made me think. It says there is only a game of poles and polarization. So this makes me think of their hyper competitive nature and how they must win even in the smallest situations, the smallest discussions, with no consequences attached to the outcome. So, in other words, the stakes are very, very low and they still must win always. Because in their mind, it's a game of poles and polarization. And this is what I mean when I use the term extremist. This is what I mean by extremist: someone who has to live in one pole or the other in their head. There's no in between, there's no added layers. Here we go. Finally, showed up on YouTube. Hi, I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I literally clicked one thing and it just crashed the whole thing. But it's all right. We're back. Thanks for sticking around. Let me pull my notes back up. Boom. Okay. Let's get this all. That's what I get for clicking. I think that would be a cute shirt. One of my goals for taking a hiatus in December is to potentially work on some merch. And that merch would be based out of like some of our favorite phrases around here, the different things we've come up with over the years. And I think that might be one of them that I just made up. That's what I get for clicking. And it is. I should have just left it alone. Let's continue. So they're super competitive, and this is why. This is just how their mind works. Their mind just works in terms of winners and losers, and that's it. So here we go. This is where I was going to speak on ramblers and rambling. It says the narcissist has a collection of words that has drifted away from functional reality. It serves a different purpose: control in a chaotic world. The world is hostile when one can't process it and synthesize. I observe that knowledge of the narcissist is an educated guess, which is formulated vaguely so it cannot be pinned down. Stereotypes and cliches actually shallow. This knowledge is not tested in the moment and was never tested. So, you know what this makes me think of, in addition to the rambling component, why they can tolerate ramblers? The way this person described this was, it made me think of an animal that's 100% domesticated that accidentally gets outside into the wild. So think about how that animal thinks, acts, and behaves. Okay. We could just use a cat for an example, or a dog, but I'll use a cat because cats are very, very funny acting and very, very sensitive. Okay. Very, very. Now, a cat that was born outside, has lived outside its whole life, has a familiarity with cars, dogs, people, buildings. That cat is fine outside. Okay. Let me know if you guys are still there. I see it says someone is still buffering. Are y'all still there? Okay, great. That cat is fine, right? So that cat would represent the people who use language normally. Okay. The narcissist is the spoiled house cat that ran out when its owner wasn't looking and now has found itself outside for the first time. Think about how that cat will behave compared to the cat that was born and raised outside. That's how I interpret this particular comment. In other words, they're fish out of water when it comes to using language in a real sense. Okay? They have to kind of do this weird hunt and peck, string together lines of words because it's the only way they feel comfortable in an unfamiliar environment. And that unfamiliar environment is the environment of language and words. Okay? Excuse me. So hopefully that makes sense. And then I loved how they threw in the stereotypes and cliches because that's exactly where they fit. They fit on that big keyboard of words. So it's like, oh, here's a good cliche that I can use for this situation. You see what I mean? Like imagine, imagine if you were a person who wasn't comfortable in social situations, but you had memorized like 100, I don't want to say comeback lines because that sounds hostile and kind of combative. That's not what I mean. Responses is a better word. You've memorized 100 responses to use in social situations. So you go out and you feel comfortable because you've memorized your little 100 responses. So when people are saying things to you, you just go, oh, response number 38, and you respond. And it's good and it lands and it works. Do you see what I mean? That's kind of how narcissists treat language. Let me just memorize a bunch of phrases and kind of categorize them for different occasions. And then when that occasion occurs, I'll just kind of pull out of my pocket for that occasion and use that phrase and hopefully we'll be good. Excuse me. This is why their conversation never evolves. This is why you want to, this is why your head wants to pop off when you're engaged in an attempt at a conversation with a narcissist, because they don't have anything else to pull from. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like I would estimate to say most of us are relatively endless wells. You should be an endless well. Your mind should constantly be able to express itself in different ways. You should be able to. I'm not saying your vocabulary has to be extensive. I'm saying you should be able, even in a most basic way, express yourself. But if you're just leaning on a catalog of 100 cliches and stereotypes, and trite phrases and comeback lines, well, no wonder you can't have a meaningful or real argument with these people. They don't have anything else to pull from, y'all. That's what I'm trying to tell you. They don't have they don't have a reservoir is what I'm trying to tell you. There's no well. Okay. You're fishing from an empty well is what I'm trying to tell you. Okay. This is why you can predict them so well. This is why you know exactly what they're going to do and say, because all of their responses are predetermined. So it gets pretty easy after a while. You just have to take your time and just observe. Once you come out of the emotionality of it, because it is very frustrating and enraging, you should be able to step back eventually and go, oh my God, you only have about 30 responses in there. Oh my God. You only have about 51 responses, don't you? It's almost like if you bought, okay, I got the perfect analogy, then we're going to move on. I'm trying to think of the movie. What's the movie where you could buy a robotic assistant? Was that iRobot? I think it was. Yeah. And then like the issue became like rights for the robots and like their humanity and all that, whatever. Okay. Let's pretend that happens. It already kind of has. Let's just pretend that that's gone mainstream, right? Let's pretend that that has become as mainstream as your iPhone or as mainstream as your Alexa, right? Sorry if I just activated your Alexa. Let's pretend it's gone just that mainstream. Now, when they sell it, they tell you 1 million phrases plus, right? So you're like, oh no, no, no. Let's make it even better. Ooh. You can buy different levels, right? So you have the 1 million plus phrases robots. You've got the 100,000 phrases robots. So basically you can buy levels of intellect with the robots, right? So you put your money down on a 1 million phrase plus robot, right? You get it, you unpackage it, smells great, looks great, starts working right away. You're so happy. But all of a sudden, over time, as you start to observe this thing, you start to realize you don't have a million phrases. You only have about 51. And so then you start to test your little robot in the ways, they have different ways you can test them. And you discover that your robot doesn't have a million phrases. Your robot has about 500. And you want your money back because not what you paid for. That's the exact same thing that we come to discover about narcs. See, when we first meet them, it takes a while to discover just how many bytes of info they have in them. How many gigabytes does this one have? Now, normal people, you shouldn't be able to count. Do you see what I mean? Normal people, you shouldn't be able to put a number on it because you're a creative, organic, living being having both experiences that you've had before and new experiences. And if nothing else, those new experiences should give you something new to say. Do you see what I mean? I get you reflecting on the things that have happened, but as new things happen to you, it should produce a new response. Uh-oh. I guess my phone agrees. Okay, so does that make sense? So, but it takes time to figure out just how many gigabytes your narcissist has. I might have to do a standalone video on that. We'll see. All right, so let's move on. I think I made my point here. Oh, no. One more thing on this one. It says this knowledge is not tested in the moment and was never tested. God, I think that's so important. Especially after this debate that I just watched, you have to have somebody test your knowledge, man. You have to. It's very, very important. Part of the reason people become extreme and extremists and they go off the deep end is because they don't have anyone there to truly test their knowledge. Now, in fairness, how could you? Because they generally won't let you test their knowledge. And that's generally why they are so incredibly dumb. So dumb. Computers of the past, when personal desktop computers first started coming out, would be considered dumb today. They weren't dumb at the time. They were smart at the time. It was the best thing we had going. But as we began to test our knowledge and test the computer's knowledge, we began to discover flaws and areas that we could improve upon. And we kept iterating until we have the computers of today. But a computer of the past would be considered dumb now. Great for the moment, but dumb today. That's what happens to narcissists. Their knowledge never gets tested in the moment or ever. And as a result, they become gradually more dumb over time. That's got to hurt. That's really got to hurt. It's got to hurt to be that stupid. I'm sorry. And I know people don't like those words. We don't like to use the word dumb. Excuse me. We don't like to use the word stupid. But I'm sorry, y'all. I don't have any other evil idiots. Exactly. Cheers, Joan. I'm not drinking, y'all. This is water, I swear. Hopefully y'all can tell the difference between when I'm a little tipsy and when I'm sober. When I'm tipsy, I get pretty quiet. I go from chatterbox to pretty quiet. All right, let's move on. They are dumb, right? Like there's nothing else. I could try to candy coat it and I could say knowledge deficient in intellect, intellectually challenged. I could try to pad it up for you, but the reason I use the word dumb and stupid is because by and large, it's voluntary. It's not like they got hit in their head. And as a result, now they can't process and they can't synthesize because they got hit in the head. I would never say that about someone who's been sincerely hurt, injured, or born that way. Never. Excuse me. I would never say that about someone who has no control over what their mind can or cannot do. But a person who's healthy enough to hold jobs, you know what I mean? Run, quote unquote, run businesses. Even if they run them into the ground, they're still running them. You're healthy enough to do all these things. You're healthy enough to learn something new. You are. And that's why I call you dumb and stupid, because it's a choice. Let's move on. It says up to a level of word salad and downright delusional and psychotic rambling. How many times have we talked about that? Oh, and this is piggybacking on the point. It says when situations are complex, unexpected, or invisible, the narcissist fails. Complex, unexpected, or invisible, the narcissist fails because they don't know what buttons to push. So buttons get pushed frantically up to a level of word salad and downright delusional and psychotic rambling. So those of you who've been following the People of the Lie series, which, yes, it's still on, it's still happening, okay? I promise. It's coming, though, seriously. I forget which couple it was. It may have been Susan and Bill. I'm not sure. I can't remember. Or was it Hartley and Sarah? It might have been Hartley and Sarah. But the doctor challenged Sarah, the wife, and she broke down. I mean, we talked about it and everything. We displayed the comment and everything. Like, she went off the deep end, baby. She was like, am I an apple tree or am I an orange tree? You think I'm an orange tree, but I'm actually an apple tree and you're a fruit picker. Like, she just went like candy coated Fruit Loops, baby. Because it was complex, it was unexpected and invisible. And it caused them to go into self-destruct mode. But this brings me back to a question that I ask often, and it is a sincere question, and it's an open question because I don't really have an answer. I kind of have an answer, but not really, which is, if we have people in our society who, upon being met with complex, unexpected, or invisible things, break down mentally into psychotic, delusional, rambling, and word salad, are these people who we would consider to be healthy enough to be functional in our society? That is a sincere question, because it's got to make you wonder. This person used the example of the coronas, but it's got to make you wonder, in what other ways does this person mentally break down when something is complex, unexpected, or invisible? What about maybe on the actual highway? When they're being presented with a complex driving situation or an unexpected driving situation, invisible, I mean, yes and no. Well, I guess you could argue by virtue of not watching their mirrors, their rear view mirrors, they didn't see the car coming. You see what I mean? I mean, that's kind of a loosely adjacent example, but do you guys get my point? How do these people deal with complex, unexpected situations? And if they break down like that when they're presented with them, can we really call these people stable? Like it's hard to call them mentally stable people. Okay. So let's move on. This kind of made me laugh. Oh, wait. Uh-oh. Did I skip one? I think I did. I did. Dang, I didn't highlight it. Okay. I need to go back. And unfortunately, y'all, I didn't highlight that. Really? Wait a minute. Oh, no, we talked about that. Not, okay. No, I think I'm up ahead of myself. I'm getting too excited. Okay. Why am I confusing myself? Sorry, I'm looking at my notes and I'm losing. Keep this in mind. A dumb person will recognize their own capacities. Where is that on my notes? Blah, 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 blah. Why do I not see that? Whatever. We're just going to shoot. Oh, here it is. Okay. Sorry. I know y'all don't know what's going on. I'm looking at a different screen, just trying to find my place. And I couldn't see it, but now I see it. Okay. So let's look at this. It says, keep this in mind. A dumb person will recognize the end of his own capacities. And it's true. Like some dumb people who know they're dumb will just say, listen, that's way above my head, you know? Um, but what bothers me is that you know that it's above your head. So if you know it's above your head, you're aware it's above your head. So you have a possibility of maybe understanding it. Anyway, that's off on another tangent. It says, keep this in mind. A dumb person will recognize the end of his own capacities. The narcissist will keep talking and talking. There is always a legitimization and way forward, a button to push. I've derailed several of them into stuttering and wide-eyed rage. I've derailed several of them into stuttering, wide-eyed rage. There is a breaking point by forcing them to shoot themselves in the foot, for example, but it has to have hard feedback, a price to pay. In language, the narcissist doesn't see the contradiction he's forced into. That is multi-layeredness. So here's what this made me think of. I hate you. Hold on. Oh, please tell me that this whole thing is here. Yay, I love you again. Okay, I just hated myself and I love myself again. Okay, here we go. Guys, did you guys watch the Joe Rogan interview with Kanye West? Did any of y'all catch that? So, if you want me to do a review, I will attempt to do one. I don't know if I'll be able to pull it off because it is 3 hours of madness, y'all. Madness mixed with brilliance is what it is. It's 3 hours of madness mixed with brilliance. But unfortunately, I feel like Kanye does himself a major disservice when he does things like this, because what it shows is his lack of cohesion in thought. Now, listen, Kanye West is a billionaire. So clearly he's doing something right. So I could never critique his approach because I guess it's working, right? Between his business deals, his money, his music deals. I'm not going to lie and say that some of my favorite songs in the world aren't Kanye West songs, because they are. Okay. He's a musical genius indeed. But you can tell that many of his ideas have never been tested or challenged, okay, in the moment or otherwise, right? But he said something during this interview that was very telling. And I actually went and found the quote, and I'm going to read it to you guys. I wasn't thinking, but I should have displayed it on the screen. But Kanye has often been accused of being a narcissist, and he's aware of it. He brings it up himself. And there are times when I'm like, no, I just think you might be a little bit unwell, baby. But then there are times when he says things that make me go, oh yeah, you might be. And here's one of those times, and here's how it relates to this particular comment. He said around the 59-minute mark, it's 59:48 if you want to go find it. He said, so as I go through these different levels, there's times where I would use confidence when I knew what I was doing, and I would use arrogance when I didn't know what I was doing. But I'd rather use arrogance than to let someone diminish my idea of myself, because that's what's supposed to keep us going. Because that is what keeps us going. That's what he said. So I'll read it one more time quicker. It says, so as I go through these different levels, there's times where I would use confidence when I knew what I was doing, and I would use arrogance when I didn't know what I was doing. But I'd rather use arrogance than to let someone diminish my idea of myself, because that is what keeps us going. So in other words, what he's basically saying is when he didn't know what he was doing, he would just talk and talk and talk and talk, just like this quote on your screen says. The narcissist will keep talking and talking. It says a dumb person will recognize the end of their own capacities. The narcissist will keep talking and talking. And that's basically what Kanye West just confessed to. In other words, when he knew he didn't know what he was doing, he just puff his chest out, get louder, get bigger, get more dramatic, cause a bigger scene, pull the attention away from the fact that he doesn't actually know what he's doing, and draw the attention to the spectacle instead. Oh, baby, you might be a narcissist. You might be. based on that little confession. Because the one thing about a mind that is not all that well is generally they'll just confess. If you let them talk, Joe, good job not interrupting, my guy. You did very good. Very good. When you get an interview like that, you're supposed to just ask one question, sit back and shut up. That's all you can really do. Ask one question, sit back and shut the F up and let it happen. And he did for 3 hours. That's why I'm like, I don't know if I can really do a review for y'all. But see, then he also has other ideas, though, that I jive with y'all. And that's what makes me think the baby just might be just an unstable genius. Just an incredibly, it's hard. I can't pin him. It's hard to pin him. And you can't argue with his results. But he, bless you. He, I said something right before this that made me, maybe it'll come back to me. But during the course of that interview, he also said something else that was very interesting to me. Oh, no, I was talking about the good ideas. Like he was talking about like future cities and how we should be like so much further ahead. He was talking about how the kids should know how to like garden and grow food, and like they shouldn't like, oh, I might have to do that review because it's a mixture of madness, and actually really good ideas. Like how we should be teaching the kids now, how our school system is obsolete. It is. You see what I mean? So anyway, he said something else during that interview that made me lean more towards this, baby, you might actually be a narc. And I'm starting to believe this is one of the side effects. But Kanye confessed to not being able to spell very well. Now, I'm not picking on him. I'm not making fun of him. I know that literacy is a struggle in America, and I imagine worldwide. Our school systems haven't done much to help. Okay. But we've also developed a culture around illiteracy where we've excused it to the point where, if you try to correct someone's bad spelling or bad grammar, they attack you basically. Now, some people are super annoying about it. You know what I mean? They're just little, but when you're in a situation where meaning is important, we have to know that you at least know the actual word. You see what I mean? Like don't you get me started on language and grammar and spelling, and don't you do it. We're not here to talk about that. The point is he confessed to not being able to spell very well. So if you can't spell, you don't always know which word is which. And if you don't know which word is which, you don't know which word is supposed to carry which meaning. So if someone writes something to you and you can't spell, how do you know you truly received their message? Just because the word sounds the same. Sounding the same and being the same are not the same. So how do you know you're receiving information fully and correctly? How do you know you're giving information fully and correctly? How do you know you're not signing contracts that are signing your life away if you can't spell? Because to a degree, if you can't spell, you can't read. And that would explain a lot. That would explain that when you don't know what you're doing, you get big and bad and arrogant and scary because you can't express yourself, it shocked me because Kanye has put out so much music and he's a lyricist. So you would assume that any lyricist would know how to read, write, and spell. It's not true. They're based in sound only. So what that means is, and I think there's an actual term for this, but I don't know it. For example, some people can, excuse me, some people can speak a second language fluently, but they can't write it. They cannot write it. And generally when that happens, like the kids grew up around like the grandparents who were like from their original place of origin. So they still speak their native language. So the kids absorb the native language through interacting with their grandparents, talking to their parents, listening to their parents talk to their grandparents. I'm gonna have to go soon. I'm like all jammed up in the nose and mouth and throat. Gosh, gee whiz, man. I'm gonna have to go. My point is, they absorb the language, they don't actually understand it truly. They understand the sound of it, they can speak the language, but if they had to write it or read it, they can't do it. They never learned it. It's the same thing with a lot of these lyricists. And the issue with that is your vocabulary becomes limited to the words that you've heard before, which is not good. So the only words you truly know are the words that you've actually heard before, and that's it. Because seeing them obviously doesn't count. It's not about the word you see, because to me, let me give y'all a little story. Then we're going to get out of here because I actually don't have much else to say on the comment. I was going to show these two paragraphs. This person doesn't think narcissism exists. Obviously, I do, but that's their opinion. They're welcome to hold it. And I do understand the point they were making, which is they think narcissism is a response to the environment, basically is what they're saying. And then they close it out pretty good. So I didn't actually have anything else to say. And I actually forgot what I was going to say. Dang it. Why do I do that? Let me see if I can backtrack. Let me see if I can actually do something I've seen other YouTubers do before. Let me see if I can find my freaking thought. I'm just going to try to run it back. Seen other YouTubers. Yep. It's the same thing with a lot of these lyricists. And the issue with that is your vocabulary becomes limited to the words that you've heard before. Right. Seeing them obviously doesn't count. Mm-hmm. It's not about the word you see, because to me, let me give y'all a little story. Then we're going to get out of here because I actually don't have much else to say. I reminded myself. I'm so happy. Yay. Y'all just remind me to do that. Whenever I do that, just say, PTE, pull up your playback. I was going to give y'all a story before we closed out from being a school teacher. And it was this. At one point in time, I was the school teacher and I taught middle schoolers. And I had middle schoolers that were actually slightly behind like a grade level. Okay. So that should give you kind of some perspective on their age and all that. They were like 1 year too old to be in their grade. And one of them walked up to me one day and they said, Miss PTE, wasn't PTE at the time, but Miss PTE, how do you spell white? And I said, white, the color? And he said, yeah, how do you spell white? And I just paused for a second. I just looked at him. And I don't mean white, the color, like there's another white, because I know there's not another word like that sounds like white spelled different. It took me by surprise because white, the color, that word is everywhere. It's on your shoebox. It's on crayons. It's on packs of paper. The printer paper, computer paper. It'll say like 500 sheets white. It's on TV. There's movies with the word white in it. You go on the internet every day. And in the midst of all this racial, well, you know what? The racial tension wasn't that bad back then. It really wasn't. So it wouldn't have been constantly like seeing the word white, 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 black, black, white. You wouldn't have seen that. I guess the point I'm trying to make when I say white, the color, is out of all the times you've seen the word white before, it never stuck. Never. And what I'm trying to convey to you guys is he was not 6. If a 6-year-old came up to me and asked me, how do you spell white? I mean, I still told him WHITE. I still told him, but the 6-year-old is still kind of learning. You know what I mean? Like some 6-year-olds are on it. Don't get me wrong. Some 6-year-olds know their colors, their numbers, their letters, and God bless them. We need them. But they're still kind of young. Like I'm going to give you a pass, but this person was like 16. And it bothered me and it upset me deeply because this is a word that's everywhere. There were dictionaries in the room. He could have just walked over, grabbed a dictionary, opened it, and I have no problem sharing knowledge with the kids. That's what I'm there for. I was the teacher. He asked me how to spell a word. I told him, but I think my face said, really? Only because it's everywhere. So I say that to say, I understand that there are different learning disabilities out there. There are different conditions that impact learning. For example, dyslexia, like I saw in the chat. So we're not talking about those folks. We're talking about able-bodied, healthy people who have shunned language. And as an end result, this is kind of what happens. You know what I mean? When they don't have the words to express themselves, they just become more arrogant because they don't know what they're doing in the moment. So, with that, you guys, I just really wanted to bring this comment out. I thought it was very, very good. It is on the video, Narcissists Miss the Added Layers. Excuse me. I hope the author of this comment is okay with this. I didn't see them in the chat tonight, so, they'll find out eventually, I guess, or maybe they'll never know. But yes, if you stumble across it and you want credit, I'm more than happy to give it. But I didn't want to just blast you out because you may not have want that. So, for the record, guys, I'm pretty much always like that. If you leave a comment that's really good, I'm always going to ask first, hey, can I share this? And I'll wait for your response. Now, if your comment is really good and I don't hear back from you, I will just go ahead and do it. Okay. I will take that liberty only because it's kind of a public forum already, So the assumption is kind of already there that people will see your comment, but this takes it a step further and blasts it out to more people. And everybody doesn't want that attention on them. You know what I mean? So I always ask. If I don't hear back, sometimes I don't do it, but if it's too good, sometimes I have to just make an executive decision and run with it, okay? But with that, you guys, I hope you enjoyed the late night stream. Have a great evening. Get out there and vote if you have not done so yet. And I would do an after show, but my voice and nose and everything is just destroyed. So I'm going to stop while I'm ahead. But you guys have a wonderful evening. Take care, and we'll talk again very, very soon, okay? Bye-bye.